the opportunity to be here today. I was told that it would be better if I do this in English, and I hope it's okay for every one of you. For those for whom it's not okay, I think you can get back there or somewhere some people who can translate for you, or basically some earbuds that would help you. So a little bit of expectation management, too good to be true. It's going to be quite hard to hold up to this, but I'm definitely going to try my best. I'd like to start to tell you in 2 slides just a little bit about myself, who SuitePad and who I am, who SuitePad is and who I am, before we then jump into the details and look at how we can upsell within hotels, especially while the guest is in the hotel. Now, who is SuitePad? This is SuitePad. We are a team of 47 people. We are a Berlin-based startup company. We were founded in 2012, and yeah, basically ever since then, we've also been visiting ITB. It's our 3rd or 4th year by now, I think. It's the first time that we are on stage. So ITB is every year like a sign of progression for the company, and we're always super excited to be back. And I think I speak here for the whole team. Just real quick, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do in a couple of minutes. As I said, founded in 2012 by Tillman, my co-founder, and myself. And by now we're working with roughly 400 hotels and have equipped 20,000 hotel rooms with our solution. It would be quite easy now to just walk into what we do and what the details are and how this can help hotels. But I think when it comes to selling, it is always one thing that many people, or there's one thing that many people get wrong, and I think that is that you not only should think about what you would like to sell, but also walk in your customer's shoes and think about, if I want to sell something, there must be somebody who's willing to buy. Which is why I'm going to take you on a little tour, because I just came back on Monday from my holidays. I've been to Vietnam for around 10 days. I can definitely recommend Vietnam if you don't know where to go for your next holidays. It's fantastic. I'm going to give you some insights in a minute. But I want to take you to that. I want to go back to my holidays with you, because I think every one of us knows how it is to spend money during holidays, and maybe sometimes even to spend a little more than you originally intended to spend. And I want to talk about the strategies, how you can actually achieve that and make more money in hotels. Now, as I said, we're going to do this because it's about walking in your guest's shoes, and you won't be able to sell anything if there's nobody who's willing to buy what you want to sell. Now, in order to give you a little more details about my holidays, the first hotel that we visited was the Princess Dammam Resort, which is close to the coast, or basically a beautiful beach resort. And the other one was a business hotel. So we're also going to talk about different strategies, a business hotel in Saigon, about different strategies for different kind of hotels. So if you have the feeling that this might only be relevant for resort hotels and something else might only be relevant to business hotels, that's intended. And if I'm talking about a little bit too much about business or resort, bear with me, because we're going to switch during the presentations to different kind of properties and what they can do in order to increase their sales. Now, if you think about how much time and money and effort hotels invest in order to improve their online reputation and in order to improve their online sales strategies, I think we very often come to the point that the investments that we already have in different kind of distribution systems, or how much time we spend working with OTAs, how much time we spend with meta searches, is already quite a strong investment that we have in terms of time and money. And at the same time, the question is, if you think about the pre-stay phase and the post-stay phase, where we already have a very strong emphasis on feedback, in most of the hotels already have feedback management tools in place, it becomes clear that pre-stay communication and post-stay communication are already very, very strong within everybody's minds and in terms of time and money that we invest. But when I open up the room, the situation right now is still a little bit different. Now, at the same time, the guest is also thinking a lot about how he wants to spend his time when he is spending his most valuable time of the year, especially when it comes to holidays. So I can tell you, I've been traveling with my fiance, and it was super, super difficult to find the right place, because you think of destination first. So the destination, she said, shouldn't be too far away, but it should be relatively warm. Now that's relatively hard to get when you want to travel in February. At the same time, you say, well, Sri Lanka would be great, but they got too many mosquitoes on Sri Lanka. Then you got another area where you say, well, Zimbabwe would be great, then the political situation is not stable. So you see, even the question of the destination can be quite some effort. The next step then is not just the destination, but which hotel do you want to go to? And then you're looking for ratings, you're looking for the location, you're looking for the price, and that's exactly what we did. And we came up with the Princess Daman Resort. I think all in all, the whole booking process of where we want to go and what we want to do took us more than a month from the first inspiration to the final decision making. So it was really a long, complex ride. This was now a very nice hotel. We really enjoyed it a lot. We were super happy. It was relatively affordable for a 5-star hotel. That's because the location was a little bit far off, so we had to travel for 4 hours before we get there. But at the end, we were happy, and the time that we invested was totally good and totally fair. But what we can learn is basically 2 things. First of all, this decision-making process, where you want to book and what you want to book when you are booking your hotel, is relatively long and complex if you are looking for vacations. And at the same time, pre and post-stay, we have all invested heavily into existing solutions that help us in order to increase our revenue. So pre-stay, the distribution landscape has completely changed from when we looked 20 years back, where people still ordered a lot of their rooms by fax. And post-stay, at the same time, it's the same thing, where everybody is heavily investing into feedback management tools. But then at the same time, when I come to a very nice, a posh hotel with a great distribution strategy, with a great feedback strategy, I open up the door of the hotel room and I walk inside, and what I very often see is a guest directory, a spa brochure, room service information, information on the area, a feedback form, maybe a TV guide, and the Bible. So while 20 years ago, for distribution, the world has been totally different, and for feedback, nobody knew about TripAdvisor 20 years ago. The world has been 100% analog, because people were talking about mouse to mouse, or maybe there were some travel agencies that could tell you where it's good and where it's not. The landscape has completely changed pre-stay and post-stay, but during the stay, the last big invention in hotel rooms was very often the TV that came in 50 years ago, or maybe the telephone that has been introduced. And at SuitePad, we thought, well, it can't really be that digitalization happens pre-stay and post-stay, but not when the guest is actually in the hotel. And that's why we invented an in-room tablet. So basically, what does SuitePad do? And what we do is we take all this paper clutter that I was talking about and unify it on one single device that stands in the room and waits for the guest. And the great advantage of that is, if you walk into the room, you open up the door, you see it, and maybe even welcomes you and greets you personally, then almost every guest picks it up. And that now sounds like, yeah, of course, if there's a tablet, I pick it up. But if you think about it, that means that if you'd have it today, people would walk into your room, and the first thing they do is they get out the guest directory and look at what kind of services you have to offer. And that's really not what's happening, and that's why we believe that digital solutions are needed. At the same time, next to in-room tablets, another thing that we do is we have a landing page for the Wi-Fi. So basically, when you sign in, you have a chance to see all the different content and hotel information on the device directly, on your own device as a guest. And then, of course, basically those 2 solutions on the top right that are very often used, and also the duration of them being used is relatively long. What we're not so big fans of is a thing like a smart TV solution. I don't know, of the hoteliers here in the room, how many have a smart TV in the hotel? Okay, so would you say that it's something nice to use or easy to use, or are the guests able to order room service through it? So? Okay, thank you. This presentation could have gone totally wrong if you would have said it's perfect, but thanks. Now, what I'm saying is, if you want to order your room service and you stand in front of your TV and you say, I'd like to have the club sandwich, and you got to go 1, 2, 3 room service, and then club sandwich is the 5th item, so 1, 2, 3, 5, okay, and I'd like to have 1, 2. So really, it's not intuitive, and it's not the way sales works. and that's why we are not strong believers in hotel TVs. At the same time, we're also not big fans of hotel apps because less than 5% of hotel guests are usually willing to download a branded hotel app, which is why we put our focus on those two digital communication solutions towards guests. Now, of course, I could tell you a lot of things of what people can do and of what SuitePad is doing, but I think, and as the moderator already explained, it's always good to give examples. But I think we shouldn't only look at examples, but we should look at numbers and revenue numbers in order to give you a better feeling if this system actually works. Now, as I said, we have roughly 400 hotels now with 20,000 devices out there. That means that round about 300,000 people use SuitePad every single month. So what that means is that when they spend on average 7 minutes on that device, that we have roughly 35,000 hours per month or 1,500 days or 4 years of usage every month. So what I want to say is we really have a lot of data to look at what makes people buy and what hinders people from buying the different services a hotel has to offer. And I want to deep dive into some of that data. Before we do that, one thing, because very often I'm sitting down with hoteliers and they tell me, well, such a solution is great, but I don't have so many services to offer because, for example, I don't have a spa. Very often in those meetings, hoteliers realize, well, I do have many things to offer, like things I haven't even thought about. Late checkout is one of those things that almost every hotel could offer if they wanted to. Most hotels have breakfast, while not every guest is booking breakfast in that hotel right now. Even hotels with conference facilities have a chance to do upsells, just as well as additional services that might be out there in the community that I can use in order to get a commission from that as well. So yes, for some hotels it's easier to upsell, and for other hotels it's harder, but there's definitely upselling potential in almost every hotel. And one other thing that I want to say before we now jump into the numbers is that nobody will be able to make the guest more hungry. If I put a tablet in the room and the guest is able to book his room service through the tablet, he's not going to book it because he's got a tablet in the room. He's going to book it because he's hungry. So we shouldn't lie about that. But I think what is important, what a digital communication solution or employees in hotels can do is they can inspire him to consume more. So that means we can't make the guest more hungry, but we can definitely help to increase his appetite by inspiring him for different services that he might be willing to consume. Now, that being said, I want to give you a couple of case studies of different hotels we've been working with and how we help them to increase their revenues in different kind of fields. The first hotel I want to talk about is a Swiss hotel here in Berlin that said, well, we like the SuitePad product, we've been working with it for quite some time, but actually we were thinking we would be able to increase our revenue reservations by quite a bit, and can you guys help us do that? So what we did with them is, the first thing is we looked at, so what is the guest actually looking at right now? Are they even interested in restaurants? And we found out that 16% of the whole traffic on the device, or 50% in total, is hotel related, and 16% is related to the restaurant itself. So there definitely is potential there. The second thing we did is we said, now look at the time of day. When is the guest interacting with what kind of information? Because at the end of the day, you can, of course, send the guest a breakfast menu sometime in the afternoon, but obviously that wouldn't make much sense. Now, what we did is we were looking at that data, and then the next step was basically to not just look at that data, but say what kind of information is relevant for the guest at the different time of day. So our approach was to say, okay, so we see those different peaks in usage in the morning and then after checkout when it comes to the afternoon. And the blue line was how it was originally in terms of traffic. And then we helped the hotel to increase that through push messages. So you can imagine a push message to be basically like a push message on your own device. It pops up and tells you, dear guest, we still have a free restaurant table in our hotel or in our restaurant tonight. Or, dear guest, would you like to have the late checkout ordered for tomorrow morning? Or, dear guest, we have one spa treatment left for tomorrow. So basically, you can push those free capacities of hotel services directly to the guest. Now, looking at usage statistics is one thing, but I think what's even more important is looking at the actual revenue numbers and bookings that came in. So while at the beginning, honestly speaking, there were very, very few bookings coming in, this is basically the I'm not going to make you more hungry phase, while here we have the I can help you to get inspired phase can start. So over a long period of time, we first started with a redesign saying, it's not too good to only have 16% of your total revenue in your F&B outlets. We should be able to increase that by putting it more prominently into all of your communication solutions, which is what we did by changing the tiles and putting the restaurant further up. And then later we started with the push strategy, which then again helped a lot by telling the guest about the different kind of services and sending out those free restaurant tables that the guest was then able to book it. So from around 5 to 8, 5 to more than 30, 40, 50, then up to almost 90 restaurant reservations on a monthly basis is what we were able to achieve through new digital communication solutions. Another example, and that's also where the 800% comes from, is another hotel here from Berlin. It's the Mandala Hotel at Potsdamer Platz. It's actually one of our first customers, if not the first customer that we work with. And also there, we try to show them the power of the push notification. Because what we can see here, basically on that side, is the number of push messages they send per month over a whole year. And over there, we have the revenue per device that came in that hotel. And what you can see here is a very, very nice correlation of number of push messages, so times you let the guest know about the services you have to sell, is strongly correlated with the revenue that we see in those hotels. And in this example, we took the same month because it's always kind of hard to compare numbers from different months. That's why we looked at a whole year. We increased the revenue in that hotel through SuitePad from 8 euros per device to more than 70 euros per device. So the push message is really one of the core drivers of upselling in hotels. At the same time, it's not the only driver. I have another leisure hotel right here, which is the Hotel Seeleiten in the north of Italy. And basically what they are doing is they said, well, we are in a wine region. So why don't we start selling wine through SuitePad, which is what they did. So now you can order the different kind of wines from the area directly through the SuitePad in your room. And then what the hotel staff does is they prepare it downstairs for you. And when you check out, they put it directly into your trunk. 23,000 euros of revenue in 2016 alone. So roughly 2,000 euros of revenue every single month that came in by integrating new products that they hadn't had so far. Another example for increasing revenues is basically looking at ancillary services that you have. So it might not be wine for you, but the Steigenberger over there on the left-hand side at Bad Wörishofen is they lease out a Porsche. So if you want to explore the area, you can do that with your own car, but if you always wanted to drive a Porsche as well, that's something you could do there. While the City Hotel in Zurich is offering an airport shuttle that's provided by them, and they get a commission basically from the partners they're working with. So you can also come up with new services. In my case, while I was traveling, on the left-hand side, I was doing a street food tour in Saigon. I can definitely recommend that. Street food in Vietnam is awesome. It's really, really great. And if you have a good guide, which we found as well, it's even okay for your stomach. So it's survivable. And in an optimal scenario, maybe the hotel would even be the one part or the one partner in travel that recommends you to the right guy, maybe through a digital solution or so. And on the right-hand side, for me, a Porsche was really not the right thing, and I also wouldn't have been able to afford it. So we took a quad and went to some of the deserts that Vietnam has. So basically, those tours and activities are out there, and guests like myself, we're definitely willing to spend money on it. At the same time, talking about the hotel in Saigon, it was a business hotel while it was still visited by a lot of leisure guests. I don't know if you heard about Nikko Hotels. It's a Japanese chain. So when I came back exploring the city, being a little bit exhausted, I went into the elevator and there were a lot of Japanese business people next to me. So I guess many of you have that every once in a while, that you have different kind of customers from different areas with different background in your hotel. wouldn't it be fantastic if a digital communication solution would allow you to show different content depending on who the customer is? So basically what we could do in this scenario is, if a guest comes from booking.com and we see that through the rate code, we could basically send him messages about direct booking opportunities and maybe a special voucher code that it could be cheaper if he books directly next time. Or for the conference guest, in that case, maybe I should have picked Toyota and not Volkswagen, but what they can do, or what hotels can do with solutions like that, is they could basically tailor the information to the kind of guest they have in their hotel. So if a company is holding a conference in the hotel right now, you could split the information from leisure guests and business guests or conference guests as you wish. And of course, if it's more interesting for you, you're also more likely to buy the services that a hotel provides. I was talking about late checkout, and really from an operational point of view, of course, very, very few hotels are actually able to clean their rooms just between 12 and 2 p.m. So most of the time, this process takes a bit longer and forward into the afternoon. So from an operational point of view, almost every hotel has a chance to integrate the late checkout into their offerings. And it's really something that guests like and that they like to use. Of course, in a business hotel, that's not that common as in a leisure hotel. So for example, in the Four Seasons in Cyprus, we had almost 50, so we had 49 late checkout inquiries over the last 30 days. I don't know how much money they want to have for it, maybe 20, 30, 50 euros or so. While at the Titanic Hotel Deluxe here in Berlin, we were more looking at 15 inquiries over the last 30 days, but that still can be quite an amount of substantial revenue for the different hotels. So even if you don't have many services to upsell, late checkout is always one thing to think about and to count on when it comes to selling additional services. Another thing that of course gets a lot easier with up-to-date information is basically being specific in terms of time and offering the services that are relevant right now. A couple of months ago, he had a customer, he called us and he said, Mr. Petersdorff, now I'm finally going to buy your solution. I never thought I would, but I found a guest directory in my room where we still had some of the prices in Deutschmark. So those things actually happen in hotels. And it's very, very hard to make sure that you get all the different kind of pieces of information into the right room and make sure that it's accurate and that it doesn't have any flaws in all of the rooms simultaneously. And of course, digital solutions help there. For example, on the left-hand side, we see the Dorint Maison Mesmer in Baden-Baden. They started over here with winter moments. So they had some specials during winter season that they could easily send to all of their guests through this digital solution. And the Upstalsboom Hotel in Kühlungsborn, what they are doing, I really, really like that, is they also arrange the tiles up here, depending on seasonality, and maybe even sometimes we had a situation where a hotel was doing that depending on the weather. So when it started to rain, they put up there the information for bad weather for the guests, so that they were always able to be up to date, which is great for upselling if you have nice services, but also, of course, it's just fantastic for the guest experience if the hotel is so thoughtful and able to provide information and services like this. One more thing that I'm also a big fan of is the chance to advertise within those hotels. So many hotels have a clientele that's very, very interesting for other partners out there in the region to interact with. In city hotels, this could be local shops or shopping opportunities, while in other hotels in the countryside area or maybe in the mountains, it could be the local ski rental or the ski school or whatever it is your guests are interested in. So we have many hotels that are actually refinancing the SuitePad solution partly through advertising partners, or hotels like the Storchen in Zurich. They basically make more money through that advertisement through their advertisement partners than they spend on the solution at all. So basically, for the Storchen or also for the Excelsior Ernst in Cologne, they basically make more money through advertisement than what they have to invest for the whole solution. So when we try to sum things up and think about what kind of digital or what kind of tools can I use or what should I have in mind if I want to be successful when it comes to upselling, This can be related to analog tools, or it can be related to digital communication tools like SuitePad is one. I think the first thing, always be up to date. So make sure that the data is current or the information is current. Also think about how can I offer the right information at the right time and not send the same message to every single guest. Another thing is, think beyond the services you already have and think about what else could the guest be interested in and what else would I be able to offer maybe through partners to my guests to give them a better experience and to increase my revenue. And then finally, think about the guest journey as a whole. The guest journey doesn't stop when the guest has booked your hotel and is finally there. I think the great upselling opportunities are definitely there when the guest is in your hotel. In our case, we really ended up spending a lot more money than we thought while we were in the destination. 35% of our travel budget we spent while we were in the destination and not on flights or hotels. So this is quite a substantial number, and I can assure you, even though it was quite hard to find the right destination, especially when I had to agree on, upon something with my fiancé, it is a lot easier to book another spa treatment when your back hurts a little bit, or to take the dessert when you're sitting in the restaurant, or to do this great street food tour that you heard good things about. So basically, compared to the very long-lasting and complex decision-making process we've been talking about beforehand, those decisions for ancillary services is really a quick decision to make for almost every single guest. Now, to sum things up, upselling for us at SuitePad is, of course, one of the things that we really like to focus on. At the same time, it's just one of many benefits that we try to provide to hotel customers. Because, of course, if you get rid of all the paper in the room, you can also save a lot of working hours and printing costs. At the same time, when you look at customer retention, of course, when he comes into the room and has a digital solution, it might be something that he feels is kind of special and that he hasn't seen in other hotels before. And with a digital concierge or newspapers or games or maybe even a chance to control the whole room, this is quite something that might make the guest come back. And if it's not that, it might be the loyalty program that you can integrate into a solution like that, and the guest could basically directly sign up for that. And as I said, also partners, advertising partners, could be people that, or could be partners that help you to get, in this case, to a positive return on investment, because in the best projects, that's definitely what we achieve. It's a solution where the guest says, hey, I haven't seen that before. That's a very nice solution. So the guest wins, while the hotel at the same time says, well, I'm providing a great tool to my guests, so that's one of the reasons I like it. But in a case like this, or many of the cases that I presented today, also from a financial point of view, it makes sense for the hotel. And that's really where digital communication and digital guest solutions make a lot of sense if the guests love it and the hotels make money with it. So that's basically it. I think we have like 3 or 4 minutes left. 2 or 3? 3. We have 3 minutes left. So if there are any open questions, I'd be super happy to answer them. And other than that, thank you very much for your attention. We're right over there, have our booth there. So if you want to take a look at this solution, just come over. We also have a very fancy new projector that you can use in order to turn every single desk, like an ordinary desk like this one, into a touchscreen solution. So if you want to see that, I can assure you it's really nice. Just come over at our booth. It's right there. Company's called SuitePad. Thank you so much.